Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Kabbalat Shabbat on Zoom. And today we're going to start with a Devar Torah from Rachelle, and then Stuart will follow with Kabbalat Shabbat. So over to you, Rachelle.
Thanks very much, Irene. So I'd like to dedicate this Devar Torah to my dear parents, my father Shlomo ben Moshe, whose Yortzeit, 40th anniversary of his Yortzeit, is on Sunday evening, and my mother Cyril bat Yechiel Mar, whose Yortzeit is on the 18th of Av, which is the 12th of August, and that'll be the 16th anniversary. So in this week's Parsha and also Haftarah, it deals with the different types of leadership seen through Moshe, Pinchas, Yeshua, Elofed's daughters, and Eliyahu. And interestingly enough, aspects of legacy in different ways. First of all, because of them taking up a leadership role, also their succession planning as well, and of course aspects of dealing with legacy in terms of estate. But for the most part, I'm going to be focusing on Moshe. Actually, as we know, Moshe Rabbeinu questioned his own abilities to lead the Bnei Israel out of Egypt. And as Rabbi Sachs, Zichrono Livracha, said, this wasn't a weakness, but an understanding as one of the greatest prophets. What Moshe said was four things. First of all, that they would not believe in him. Secondly, that he wasn't a man of the people. Thirdly, who was he? And he wasn't a man of words. And in that respect, he wasn't eloquent enough. But he had great success, as we know, and an extensive legacy. But he also had human imperfections, such as a temper, a speech impediment, fear and self-doubt, all of which he struggled with. But he had great humility, empathy, heroism, but also patience, wisdom, and self-reflection, and he was such a humble person. Moshe knew that he would not be leading the Bnei Israel, as we know, because he'd hit the rock twice, which produced the water instead of speaking to it. And as we know, he lost his temper. And of course, there are a number of reasons, and also we question it. Why is it that this flaw and transgression was emphasized so much by Hashem? And this mistake had such consequences for him. Because although in the episode of the Golden Calf, he'd shown strong leadership, and he was instructed to look out from Mount Nebo physically to see Canaan, and he was bitterly disappointed when Hashem informed him that he was to pass away. And rather than as a punishment, he viewed it as a condition of his mortality. And he approached Hashem with a request. May Hashem, the Lord of all spirits, appoint a man over the assembly who shall take them out and bring them in, and let them not be like sheep that have no shepherd. So Moshe had created a destiny for his own people and understanding of the plight of his fellow Jews. In fact, he's actually set a job description of the qualifications of someone to replace him. He wanted a leader for someone to be concerned for Bnei Israel, leading them into battle, protect them and to bring them back, and to lead the people into Eretz Israel. And we question it, of course, that it's disturbing and perplexing, having said that he wasn't going to be allowed to lead the Bnei Israel, and he'd led them for such a long time. Moshe was worried that Bnei Israel would be left without someone in charge, And he was concerned that it would be a leader within them that would take into account the plight and well-being of every single Jew, every personal situation, and each individual's struggles and challenges. So Hoshua ben Nun was designated to succeed Moshe and had the task and privilege of leading the Bnei Israel into Eretz Israel. Moshe was told, "Take Yeshua, son of Nun, and place some of your majesty upon him, so that the entire assembly of Israel will pay heed." And Rashi emphasizes that some, but not all, because Yeshua could not be compared to Moshe. And the reason why Hoshua had merited such leadership skills was that Hoshua was Moshe's Talmid Umrak, his principal scholar, and was dedicated to him. Moshe had actually wanted one of his own sons to succeed him, Gershom or Eliezer, but Hashem did not want a dynastic succession like kinship and the Kohanim. The sages said the crown of Torah belongs to anyone who chooses to take hold of it and bears its responsibilities rather than privilege or hierarchy. And in fact, Moshe was so preoccupied with leading the Bnei Israel and responding to Hashem's commandments, he did not actually have time to attend to his family and children. But we know too that his own brother, Aaron, and sister Miriam had spoken negatively about him. They resented his leadership, they were actually jealous of it, and had disapproved of his marriage to a Cushite woman. Moshe had actually learnt from the episode of the spies that the Bnei Israel were frightened of change. The result was a catastrophic moment for the people, and he realized that the pace of change had therefore had to be slow, and he had to educate them, prepare them for the challenges, and to give them courage to succeed. So the choice might be unexpected, but in fact, the Torah reading begins by focusing on Pinchas. And as we know, he was a passionate and zealous man who killed two idolaters in front of the Holy Tent of Meeting. It was a shocking act, but diverted Hashem's wrath. And Hashem rewarded Pinchas by giving him hereditary priesthood. And interestingly enough, one commentator says the Haftorah of Eliyahu, some people think that he was actually the same person. Hoshua had appeared several times when he was appointed to lead a group from Mitzrayim to fight against Amalek. Leading untrained men into battle, Hoshua had accompanied Moshe and waited whilst Moshe went up Mount Sinai, and as we know, for 40 days and nights. Hoshua and Caleb were two of the leaders sent by Moshe to spy out the land, and they were enthusiastic, and as we know, the other spies weren't. And Hoshua had great confidence in the Bnei's ability to conquer their enemies. But it must, of course, be difficult to comprehend Moshe's state of mind to see the promised land and be denied the opportunity to go. But he was also preoccupied, of course, with the future leadership of Bnei Israel. And he'd set aside his own feelings and put the Bnei Israel community first. Who was going to lead them? Who was going to be entrusted with them, with their well-being and welfare? And this demonstrates humility and modesty. So we see the different abilities, strengths, and skills in each person named in the Pasha and Haftarah. These sets of abilities were appropriate for a specific role or task, and some skill sets will create a leader to one situation, but not to another. So hopefully our leaders are chosen for their skills that improve and strengthen our communities and indeed in the world. Every change in leadership, religious, political, business, produces its own set of circumstances and needs. But the Torah, of course, provides us with models and principles to guide us in this endeavor. Thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom.
Shakar, thank you so much, Matt. Thank you very, very much. So now